Cobrado, present. Ando, present. Bonilla, present. Cobrado, absent. So, isa lang ang absent for today. So before we start our lesson, let's read the objectives. Objectives. List and explain the elements of art. Identify the elements of art in selected works. Apply the elements of art to their own work. So that is our goal for today, or our learning objectives. So before we start our discussion, please watch this video. Did you observe to the video? The video is interesting, fun, very good. The video is interesting. What do you think will be the lesson for today? About arts. Very good. So this time, group yourself into 4 and write at least one elements of art and discuss it within the group. So are you in the discussion within group? So let's start our discussion for today. Our topic for today is elements of art. What are the elements of art? First, the elements of art is lines. Lines are marks moving in a pair between the 2 points whereby viewer can visualize stroke movement, direction, and intention based on how the line is oriented. The example of line is the straight line, the zigzag line, and the curved line. The line is one of the elements of art. Very good. The next is the shape. It's a 2-dimensional art signed and increased by lines to signify its height and width, structure, and can have different values of color. Use it appear the 3-dimensional. Example of shape is circle, triangle, square, rectangle. Those are the example of shape. Shape is one of the elements of art. Very good. And the next is form. Form is a 3-dimensional object that volume of height, width, and depth. This object includes cubes, spheres, and cylinders. The example of form is cubes. The form is one of the elements of art. And the next elements of art is color. is an element of consisting of hues of which there are three proportions: hue, chroma or intensity, and value. The example of color is red, yellow, blue, green. Those are the example of colors. Colors is one of the elements of art. Very good. And the next is space. Refers to the perspective distance between and around, and proportion between shapes and objects. The example of space is example. There's square, circle, and circle. This is the space of objects. Example, me. And there's another me. This between is the example of space. Space is one of the, and the last elements of art is the texture. Is used to describe the surface quality of the work, referencing the type of lines an artist created. Example, the paper. The paper is smooth or rough. What do you think the paper is? The paper is smooth. So that is the example of texture. Those are the elements of art. So what are the elements of art is? We have lines, shape, form, color, space, and texture. Very good. So let's recall. Cuadrado. What is lines? Lines is very good. What are the example of lines? Straight lines, zigzag lines, and curved lines. Very good. And what is the next of lines? We have shape. Very good. And the next to the, and what is the example of shape? We have circle, triangle, and square. Very good. And the next to the shape is form. What is the example of form? The example of form is cubes, spheres, and cylinders. The next to the form is, we have color. Very good. The color is, the example of color is yellow, blue, green, and red. Very good. Those are the example of colors. And the next to the colors is, we have space. Next to the space is, we have texture. Very good. The texture is, example of the texture is rough or smooth. So, any question? Question? None? Are you sure wala may question? Wala na bang question? So kung wala nang question, let's move on to the quiz. Get your paper and your ball pen. So number one is the lightness or darkness of color. A. Line. B. Shape. C. Color. D. Texture. Done? Number 2. An arc of two-dimensional space defined by edges or lines. A. Line. B. Shape. C. Color. D. Texture. Number 3. A. Line, B. Shape, C. Color, D. Texture. Number 4. The question of number 4 is the quality of surface either or implied. A. Line, B. Shape, C. Color, D. Texture. Number 5. List at least 3 elements of art. So exchange your paper to your submit. Let's check your paper. Number 1. The lightness or darkness of color. The answer is C. Color. Number 2. An art of two-dimensional space defined by edges or lines. The answer is B. Shape. Number 3. A mark that is longer than its wide. The answer is A. Line. Number 4. The quality of surface either or implied. The answer is B. Texture. Number 5. List at least 3 elements of art. The elements of art is we have line, shape, color, space, form, and texture. Those are the elements of art. So who got perfect? Raise the right hand to got perfect. Very good. Ang daming nakakuha ng perfect. So now class, we don't have enough time to more activity and more discussion. Let's have an assignment. In your assignment, define the 5 elements of art in the space provided. Collect examples of each elements of art from online or print resources and categorize them into the appropriate boxes. Be prepared tomorrow because you share it in front of our class. So the elements of art is we have line, shape, color, and texture. Get your assignment notebook and write it down and pass it tomorrow. So that's all for today, class. Thank you for listening to me. This is your teacher Jonah, your teacher for today. Goodbye, class.